Hello and welcome to the Giddy Carousel of Pop, the podcast that takes an old issue of the Popadoodleopolis Pop Mag Smash Hits and has a good nose through its pages with a guest. I'm Gavin Hogg, and here he is with birds and all that painted all over his face in this brave new world. It's my pop podcast pal, Simon.
Hello there.
How you doing, Si?
I'm all right. I'm glad you like the makeup job. It took me ages to get all the detail right. Yeah.
Are you going to be able to get it off all right? Do you need some Swarfiga or a wet wipe?
Yeah, well, I've got a pressure washer in the shed.
Well,
so
you're going to need it, my friend.
if it comes to it.
I don't think you should have done it with Sharpies. Anyway, before we set the carousel spinning in motion, Si, who's been a rummaging in their mother's purses and buying us a coffee?
Well, quite a few people on this occasion. There's a large queue formed at the coffee shop, or the coffee kiosk at the carousel. Paul D. Jones, thank you to you. He says, cheers, fellas. Another immensely enjoyable episode. Been an avid listener to the pod for a while now. A couple of coffees are long overdue, so thanks, Paul. Rhys Jones, he says, thanks for all the entertainment. Well, no, thank you, Rhys. Vinyl Obsessive says, loving the podcast. Keep up the gid work. Get it?
Oh, very good. We see what you did.
Yeah, it's kind of like a New Zealand accent that thing going on there. Rachel Galloway, former rider on the carousel. After all these episodes, you're still not down the dumper. Keep up the good work, pop kids. So it's a matter of opinion and perspective and things, isn't it? Ricardo Autopan says, stay hydrated. Loved the Julian Henry episode. Confirmed some of my theories, and I learnt some stuff, despite having been through the major labels myself. Hashtag it's a shit business. Alex, yeah, if you missed the last episode with Julian, he did give us a rather fascinating peek behind the pop curtain. And Alex says, don't forget to put muchos choc sprinkles on top to avoid putting sugar in. Fool and tickle your taste buds simultaneously. What a devious person he is.
Oh, thank you very much.
And one last, previous rider on the carousel as well, Patricia Caliscan. She says, hot brew for the most giddy of pop carousels. Well, thank you, Paddy. And thank you, everyone, for your coffees and whatnot. And it's always greatly appreciated.
It really is. Yeah, thanks, everyone. That's really kind of you. God bless every last one of you. And if you want to support us like those lovely people have done, you can do the same. It's very simple. And it can be just a one-off thing, or you can buy us as many coffees as you like, as often as you like, every hour on the hour. It's up to you. Just go to ko-fi.com/giddypoppod. I'll give you that one more time. That's ko-fi.com/giddypoppod. And chuck us a few quid to help keep the carousel spinning.
And also thanks to everyone who's been in touch on the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us on all those. We're not doing TikTok. What's all that about, eh? But it's always good to hear from you on the traditional social media platforms. And don't forget, you can leave us a review on your podcast app or click the 5 stars. It helps spread the word.
Indeed. Always appreciated. And I just want to say, we've had lots of lovely feedback, as I was saying about the last episode with Nanic Cherry on the front cover. Ricardo Autobahn, who'd given us a coffee earlier on, made what I thought was an astute point in a tweet where he said, 30 years on and still nobody has worked out the point of then Jericho. I thought it was a very good point, well made. We're still, decades later, years down the line, still no closer to finding out what the nub of that mystery is. But maybe one day some historians will work it out for us. But
it's one of the great pop conundrums.
It is. What? Why? Then Jericho, why? Anyway, Si, over to you. What is occurring in the land of the carousel?
Well, it would appear that the land of the carousel has come to the attention of a rather zealous health and safety type from the local council. He's been here the last few days, poking his nose into all the various amusement attractions on offer. Kid Creole's Coconut Shy, the Funboy 3's Tunnel of Love, Madness's House of Fun. And he was quite vocal in his disapproval of the Stray Cats Manning of the Runaway Waltzer. His conclusion? If we don't step up the H&S with some clear messaging, he's going to shut it down. Just as we're all beginning to despair, we hear a familiar voice clearly ringing like the bell on Buster Bloodvessel's High Striker. She reckons she's a dab hand at lending her voice to such messages like, don't touch that red button, and stop playing with it or it'll fall off. And most famously, mind the gap. on that London Underground thingy. For the owner of that voice is none other than multi-platform polymath Emma Clarke, voiceover, writer, composer, podcaster, and today our saviour. Stick that health and safety man. Emma, welcome to the Giddy Carousel of Pop.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me, guys.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here. Now, before any of this shenanigan can start, you've got to choose a horse to ride on the carousel. So, what would be your preferred method of transport on the carousel? All the horses that you see before you.
Well, obviously, it's going to be a horse.
Yes,
obviously. There's a carousel at Tatton Park, or at least there used to be, and the kids used to climb on one, and I think it was called Raphael, the one that the kids particularly liked. And you know how they've got these fantastic kind of like carved spiral kind of spindle things that you grip onto, and it was gold, Raphael's one. So I'm going to go for Raphael, the golden and pink horse.
That sounds like a very good choice, I got to say. Yeah, I like that. Raphael.
He sounds sturdy and beautiful.
Like me and you, Si. I'm sturdy, you're beautiful, Si.
I'm blushing a bit now. Now you've chosen your horse, the carousel will start spinning upon the truthful answering of this question. Have you ever been sick in a gumboot?
Not yet. Give it time.
Leave your options open.
Yeah, you never know.
Very wise.
It's almost optimistic, that. I've not been, but I might be. You never know.
Don't rule it out. It could happen. So you've answered that question truthfully, Emma. Thank you very much for that. The carousel has now started spinning, and it has spun us back to the smash hits of 27th of May 1982. A snip at 38 pence, which is about £1.40 in today's money.
Oh, do you know, that was one of the first things I remembered when I looked at the edition online. 38p, because I remember thinking that was quite a lot of money back then.
So Emma's picked out this issue for us to have a look at, and if you want to read along with us, you can do just that, thanks to the Like Punk Never Happened and Smash Hits Remembered website. You'll find links to the scans of this issue in the episode show notes, along with Spotify and YouTube playlists that include pretty much all the songs and artists featured in this issue of The Hits. And you'll also find links on our website, giddypoppod.home.blog, and we'll post them on our Twitter and Facebook feeds as well. Just search for the Giddy Carousel of Pop or at Giddy Pop Pod. So, Emma, let's start with you. Take us back, if you will, through the mists of time, rolling back through the decades to May 1982. A couple of questions to start you off with. How old were you? Where were you living? And what kind of music were you listening to?
I was 12 and I was living in Sale in South Manchester. And I was listening to some very odd music for a 12-year-old. Mm-hmm. I was really into, I mean, when I say into, I was really into The Doors, and I was really into Tubular Bells.
I wasn't expecting that combination.
No, I know. Exactly. And occasionally Tangerine Dream.
Oh, you were an unusual one, weren't you, Emma?
I was a very strange child. But I did discover pop. Probably, I'd say March, really, 1982, because all my mates were starting to get into pop, and I was becoming aware that I wasn't normal.
Were Tangerine not big on the playground at Sale High?
They really weren't.
Right.
So I remember thinking, I've really got to shape up my music fan act, and I need to become au fait, really, with what the popular music combos are coming out with at the moment. So I bought Smash Hits, and I remember thinking that this feeling when I bought my very first issue of Smash Hits, thinking that I'd become something different, that it had somehow transformed me into a different version of me, that suddenly I was some kind of music aficionado because I had a copy of Smash Hits.
You would just kind of absorb this stuff and then it would just come out of you and
I felt like I belonged. I really did. It spoke to me.
So you were saying you were listening at the time just before you started buying Smash Hits to like Tangerine Dream and The Doors and Tubular Bells. What was the influence there? Was that like a parental influence or elder siblings, or did you just discover it for yourself?
No, I'm an only child, and my mother was a massive Elvis fan,
Right.
and Perry Como occasionally. My dad was into Acker Bilk and Hooked on Classics. You can see I was damaged.
Yeah.
I think it was a sort of attempt to resolve inner trauma, I think. And I just sort of discovered this music. I must have heard it on the radio, because I must have heard it on the radio. And I must have seen Tubular Bells in a record shop somewhere and bought it. I must have done. And I just loved it. And it's only quite recently that I've really understood what a massive, deep influence it had on me, that music, since I started composing, actually, and having to sort of unlearn what Tubular Bells taught me.
Otherwise, all your tunes go.
Yeah.
Then you get somebody introducing all the instruments.
Yeah, exactly. Tubular Bells. Grand piano. Yeah, totally.
So you were listening to records mainly? Is that, or were you listening to much stuff on the radio? Yeah.
Lots of stuff on the radio. I did. Every Sunday I listened to the charts, and I remember thinking how exciting it was when we got to like the top 20. And I used to get really, really excited, and I kept a diary. Sadly, I can't find the one from May 1982. I can find a bit of the diary from June 1982. But that's written in code. Again, I was a strange child. It's written in this very odd phonetic code. That nobody, it wasn't just a letter substitution code. Oh no, it was phonetic.
And can you still decode it? Can you remember how to decode it, or do you need some kind of Rosetta Stone to?
Yeah, I could decode a little bit of it, but it was obviously because I was concerned that my mother was reading my diary. Not that I had anything great to say.
Yeah.
Read smash hits, went to the drink, did my homework.
Listen to Tubular Bells again.
Listen to Tubular Bells. Nobody understands me. I hate myself. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I listed all the top 10 hits in my diary, and I was doing it. I mean, in this one I've got 1984, listing them religiously. So I did consume music on the radio, and that, when you do that thing when you record the top 40, and you'd sort of listen to it back on the bus going to school, that kind of thing. So it was really cassettes, records, and radio, and I did watch Top of the Pops as well.
Were you kind of forcing yourself to like pop music at this point, or did you genuinely like it? Was a bit, because you kind of said there was a bit of peer pressure kind of thing, and
yeah, I did like some of it, but I didn't buy into all of it at all. I loved Toyah, for instance. I was a bit cool on Duran Duran, although I loved The Chauffeur, because again, it was something that didn't sound like pop music. The Chauffeur, it's a very different kind of song. So I was into some pop music, but it was very much on my terms. I never liked something because other people liked it. I just wanted to explore what other people liked and then take whatever I wanted to be influenced by or appeal to me from there.
And I believe we've got something in common. Our first copy of Smash Hits was the same one, wasn't it?
The same one.
Unfortunately, it's one we've already covered on the Giddy Carousel of Pop, the Adamant cover.
But I feel we've got a karmic link, Gav.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And funnily enough, this one we're about to look at, I think it was the first one that I got when I started ordering it.
Oh.
So again, this retains a very special place in my memory as well.
Yeah.
Because it actually had my address written in the top corner, and I used to have to go to the newsagents and collect it. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
And why have you chosen this issue in particular, apart from the reason that the Adamant one has already been done?
Well, this one, I remember looking at the cover of this one and being completely mesmerised by it, because Toyah's got this incredible makeup. She's got like clouds and the sky around her eyes and little birds that kind of look like the first swallows of summer. And her hair is a kind of orangey pink and cerise. And then it fans out in this kind of bluey white crest at the back of her head. And she's got these little birds painted onto her neck and shoulders. And it's just a very striking image. And I remember thinking when I first saw it, how beautiful it was, but also thinking, my God, she's got a lot of gel in her hair. How's she going to wash it out?
That's going to take a long time to come out.
It's going to take a long time. A comb's going to be a right state. So, again, tells you a lot about me, really.
I'm interested to know if you ever put any of the posters up on your wall. What did you do with your issue of Smash Hits? Because some kids used to cut them up and stick up the posters, and some people left them intact.
No, they were sacred. They were sacred. I wouldn't even put a glass of Impto on one and get a glass ring. They were pristine and sacred, and I kept them in a special box. They were relics. So yeah, they were very special indeed. And I was always careful, not to sort of cockle the pages, or if I read it in the bath, and just to not fold any pages or anything, or scribble or write. Although I did do the crossword. I remember doing the crossword, so I would permit writing on the crossword page, but no other page. So no, there was something quite special about my Smash Hits magazines.
So thanks for filling us in, Emma, on where you were and what was going on in your life with your code word diary and religious objects of Smash Hits. Si, what about you? Where were you? What was going on in your world in 1982?
1982. Well, we've covered this kind of period before. I think we did one from 82 with Martin Fry on the front, with David Hepworth. So if you've not listened to that one, go back through. Go up or down, whichever way your podcast app goes, and have a listen to that one. So yeah, I was let's see. 8 years old, but just over 8.5. I mean, it's important at that age that you've got to mark out the increments there. And I think the songs from this period are all very memorable to me, and particularly from this issue of Smash Hits, because like you, Emma, recording stuff off the radio, and me and my sister did that religiously. Oh, we're getting very religious in this episode. But we would do that every week. My dad had got Dixon's own brand ghetto blaster type thing. And we'd sit in the back room, as we called it, with the top 40 on, and she'd be doing her homework or colouring in a big poster with a beryl felt tips, and I'd be doing whatever, playing with my train set or whatever, and we'd take it in turns. Each alternate weeks. One week she'd record things from the radio, and next week I'd record things from the radio, and then we'd listen to these in the car. And it wasn't long after this that we went on holiday. My parents always insisted on going on holiday in term time so that it wasn't as busy. And schools didn't care so much back then. She used to take a letter into the teacher and say, dear Mrs. whoever, Simon won't be here for 2 weeks, and they wouldn't bat an eyelid. So one of these tapes was from this period, and we listened to it. My sister ruled the tape player in the car, and we listened to this tape pretty much the whole 2 weeks. I mean, kind of rotated with, the top 40 songs, and then a tape that had Michael Jackson's Off the Wall on one side and his Motown Greatest Hits on the other side. That's pretty much all we listened to the whole 2 weeks. My dad's Glenn Campbell tape didn't get a look in. So a lot of these songs I knew very well at the time, and still absolutely love them to this day. I think the more I look at this period of pop music, I think there's this incredible peak from sort of 78 to 85, this amazing run of music. But I think the peak of it is 1982, as well as like Duran Duran and Spandau Ballet moving through that year. We're starting to get the new acts coming in who all felt part of the same thing, like Culture Club, Tears for Fears, ABC, Wham! So it's just such an exciting time for pop music. And like I say, I just keep coming back to this period and realising that 82 was just, it's the summit of Mount Pop.
I think you're totally right. And I think that one of the reasons why I suddenly had this compulsion to get into pop music was because it was so eclectic, was because you couldn't predict the kind of music that was going to be in the charts the next week. You did not know what these amazing bands were going to release next, or who was going to be discovered. And it was the beginnings of electronic music, when synths were going to rule, and then there was this tribal drum thing going on, and then you got a bit of funk in there, and it was just phenomenal. The way that it was just very broad, wasn't it? And anything went. It was brilliant.
Yeah, there are absolutely no rules then, were there, on what could be released and what could be a hit single as well.
Yeah, totally.
Some quite eccentric stuff coming out, and we'll be covering some of that in today's issue.
Yes, we will.
Oh, yeah. What about you, Gav? What were you up to in May 1982?
Well, as you said, months are very important. So I was 12 and 2 months. I was just getting towards the end of my first year in secondary school. And I think really then life was just very uncomplicated. It was just going to the local youth club once a week, down to the disco there, playing football after school, spending my pocket money on 7-inch singles from the bargain bins and the Giddy Carousel in the news agents, the ex-jukebox.
Yeah.
And just generally, I was a massive Adam Ant fan, but Adam and the Ants and then Adam Ant. So in this month, actually, because it would have just come out not long before, I bought my copy of Goody Two-Shoes, which was the first issue. It said Adam and the Ants.
Oh.
So it wasn't until I read this issue of Smash Hits that I realised, it's just Adam and Marco now. Because I thought they were still a band, because that's what it said there.
Yeah.
I think it was just for contractual reasons, and then like later pressings it said Adam Ant. But yeah, I thought people were saying, they've split up. I was like, no, I bought the single. It's Adam and the Ants, definitely Adam and the Ants. And I was looking at my record today, the 7-inch of it, and I've scratched with a paperclip into the dead wax, near the centre, Ants in really bad handwriting, ANTS into it. That's what I was doing when I was 12 and 2 months. That was my life.
What, vandalising your run-out grooves?
Yeah, just scratching ants into the run-out grooves.
We've all got to have a pastime.
Let's take a look at this issue. So Emma's described the cover beautifully. We've also got, as well as Toyah on the front and that striking picture, it also promises Adam, not Adam Ant, just Adam, I guess. There was only one Adam in 1982, wasn't there? Madness, Echo and the Bunnymen, and Duran Duran. And then underneath that, it says Toyah. Obviously, we can see Toyah. And hit songs by Blondie, Associates, Altered Images, and many more. I just wanted to say about the cover, because when I saw it, I was thinking, I'm sure I've read something about it. And this morning I went to my copy of the autobiography of Mark Ellen, Rockstars Stole My Life, a previous guest on the Giddy Carousel of Pop. And he talks on page 125 of this very issue. He's talking about Dave Hepworth, and he says, Dave was funny and immensely bright, a great engine of ideas. He knew instinctively what appealed to the teenage viewers of Top of the Pops. A picture of Toyah turned up, her face painted with seagulls, and her hair a bright orange, vertical explosion, as if she'd been connected to the national grid. The black and white music papers called her a histrionic harpy of no audible talent. But Smash Hits readers thought she was the liberated sister they'd never had. Dave slapped it on the cover, and it sold 150,000 copies. So what else is inside the magazine? Well, we've got the lyrics, as you'd always expect. The songs covered in this issue are Club Country by The Associates, Brave New World by Toyah, Marie Wilson's Baby It's True. Can you guess what the next one is, Si?
You Be Bloody 40.
It's You Be Bloody 40 again. With they've got a single every issue of Smash Hits. This one is Love Is All Right.
All right.
We've got Pinky Blue, Altered Images, Genesis with Paper Late, Cantonese Boy by Japan, Echo and the Bunnymen's The Back of Love, A-Bomb in Wardour Street by The Jam, which was a request spot, Madness's House of Fun, A Little Piece by Nicole, Scritty Politis Faithless, Rhythm of the Jungle by The Quick, Blondie's Island of Lost Souls, and finally, Susie and the Banshees Fireworks. What an incredible run of singles there are there. I mean, not every single one of them is a gem, but there's a high gem quotient there, isn't there?
Defo.
It really is.
There's a lot of great stuff. As promised, there's features on Toyah, the Higsons, who aren't mentioned on the cover, but they get a page. Next to that, we've got a half-page advert for Echo and the Bunnymen's new single, The Back of Love. But if we just skip back one page, we find the lyrics to Club Country by The Associates. And I just wanted to kind of mark it. We don't always talk about every song where we see the lyrics, but Si and I were recently on another podcast called In Frequency, and that should be out hopefully by the time this podcast comes out. And we were asked to kind of do almost like a Desert Island Discs of 10 songs of whatever kind of genre or movement or style we wanted. And we thought, actually, because the Giddy Carousel is mostly an 80s-based podcast, we'd do something on that kind of theme. And we thought we'll try and choose some songs that were a little bit unusual, maybe overlooked, a bit eccentric, maybe just hadn't got the respect and the due that they deserved at the time. And I'd chosen this in my head, and it was the only one that I'd thought of, and I was still trying to work out what the idea of the show would be. And me and Si were chatting a month or two before we were due to record it. And I said, I've only got one. I've got Associates Club Country. He's like, I've already chosen that one. I want that one. So we had a fight about it. Si won because he's a big brute of a man. And and that was it. And it's, we waxed lyrical on that podcast about it, but it is just an incredibly, still 40 years later, an amazing song, just beautiful, strange. There's something just absolutely magical about it, and I can't put my finger on it. Si, anything you'd like to add to that? I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that I bought at the time, and it's one that's on the tape that my sister taped off the radio and that we listened to in the car quite a lot. In fact, I can never hear the end of Club Country without it immediately segueing into Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran. It just, my sister did the pausing absolutely perfectly, and I remember us sat in the car listening to it and being like, "Whoa!" So when you did a good pause, it was something to celebrate. So we did celebrate that one. But yeah, I think it kind of dawned on me probably about 10 years ago. I came back to this song, and I just thought, my God, this is so weird. And this was a hit. This was in the charts. And the only way I could describe it is it's pop music by aliens. It's been beamed in from another galaxy. It's just, there's just something so odd and otherworldly about it. And it's good to see the lyrics at last, actually, because there's some that I could never fathom that I've been getting wrong for a long, long time. But I'm not going to beat myself up about that. But it's just an amazing piece of music that even as a musician, I just cannot fathom out how on earth they did it. But Emma, I asked you to kind of, with your musician and composing head on, to just kind of have a listen to it and bring some of that perspective to it, and also what you think about the song.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I remember when it came out when I was a kid, I remember just thinking, what's that? What are they doing? And I remember finding it quite a confusing song as a kid because it doesn't fit into any neat sort of package. It's sort of a complete one-off. And just now, sitting here looking at the lyrics, they're incredibly dark. And you're aware when you listen to the song that it is dark. There's something not right happening in the song. But the lyrics, alive and kicking at the country club, we're always sickening at the country club. Your limitations are our every care. Every breath you breathe belongs to someone there. Sad to see that you're suffering, work hard at being a something, and then it repeats that. And it just, in 1982, the 80s hadn't really kicked in, the greed, the sort of the materialism, the sort of me, greed is good kind of thing. But it's prefigured somehow in this song. And musically, I made some notes about this when I was listening to the playlist. And I remember being quite captivated by the beat of it as a kid, because it's got quite a striking beat. And then the strings come in, which you don't really expect. And then the singing, which it's a sort of wailing. It's a cry of anguish. And the modulation then into a minor key, it turns it suddenly much darker. And it's got a really, really weird structure, this song. When I listened to it the other day, I remember thinking that it was very cluttered. There were a lot of ideas in there. And I was thinking that my composition teacher would rinse me if I came up to him with anything like that, because he'd say, do one idea and do it well. But I think this is part of the charm of this song, that it doesn't bear any sort of consideration for those kind of limitations. It is what it is, and it just goes all over your ears, really. And like you said, it's pop music by aliens. I need to listen to it a few more times, actually, because although I'm not really sure I'd understand it any better if I did.
No, I've sat down with a guitar and just tried to work it out.
Yeah.
And, I've been playing guitar for a long, long time. I can normally, muddle my way through pretty complex tunes and stuff and at least find the basic root notes or something like that. But this one, it's like, what? But just before we came online to record this, I actually found a video that I've never seen before by Alan Rankin, who was the guitarist in Associates. And he's talking about this song and just about how they wrote it. And it started off with this initial riff that's kind of on a drone. And that's what becomes the bass line in this song, because you listen to the bass and doon, 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 and it kind of does that. It stays on the one note, and then it shifts around a little bit. But then he goes through this run of chords on his guitar, and it's like all the minor chords.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
And I was watching him, like, even I'm watching him playing it, and he's saying what the chords they are. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, which is just brilliant. It makes it even more special to me that it's all there, and it's still so elusive.
It's the kind of thing that it shouldn't work, but it does. But no one can say why. It's, lightning bottled in a jar, isn't it? It's strange. I was in touch with a Facebook friend called Julian Stockton, who's been working on, there's a Sulk reissue, like a 3 CD 40th anniversary thing that's coming out on July the 15th. And he'd been speaking to Mike Hedges, who produced it, and he said that the bass and guitar lines were both played at half speed and then sped up because, I think in the words of Alan Rankin, or maybe it was Billy Mackenzie, that said they wanted a sound for the song that wasn't actually possible. That, they kind of wanted to do what Si said, I think, kind of beam it in from another planet where the laws of normal musical physics, if you like, didn't exist, and, it's kind of floating around in another dimension.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree. What an amazing song to start the issue off with. The lyrics. There we go. I think that's enough on Club Country. We could do a whole episode on Club Country, to be honest, but I guess we've got the rest of the magazine to go through, haven't we, really? Otherwise, the Toyah fans will be disappointed.
So we get to our cover feature so soon in the issue. We'd normally save it for a bit later, but no, here it is, first feature in the mag. It's Toyah, unsociable, arrogant, selfish, stubborn and jealous. That's the headline there. And it says, that's the real Toyah, according to Toyah. Dave Rimmer watches her at work. So he's joined her on the sixth and last day of a promotional tour to plug her new single, Brand New World, as it says here, taking in some 4 radio stations a day. And on this particular day, she's been in Birmingham, Luton, Southend, and finishing the day in Reading at Radio 210, where she's been greeted by around 30 fans who've been waiting for her to arrive, which is nothing compared to the 500 that have been waiting for her in Liverpool a few days earlier. And if she'd gone to Radio City in Stanley Street, they would have absolutely filled the street down there. There would have been no traffic going through. But I think Dave sets out his stall pretty early. He says, I'm no fan. Whatever you think about her music, I'm no fan. It's a fact that Toyah is a genius when it comes to promotion. The other week, she appeared on TV no less than 4 times in Razzmatazz, Pop Quiz, Tales of the Unexpected, and Get Set for Summer. It was accidental, apparently, that they were all screened within days of each other, but it is a reflection of her level of exposure. So I think he's gone in with a bit of an agenda.
He really has. And then the next sentence, I can't not say this. The way she carefully contrives an image for each project. He's got some beef with her, hasn't he, this guy?
Oh, yeah. I think he, in a way, is trying to show her up and put her down at the same time.
Yeah, because then later on, he says, what would she say, I wonder, if I said that she struck me as more of an advertising campaign than an artist? And I just wonder how much misogyny there is in this.
I think there's a big old dollop.
I would suggest so.
Yeah, I think so.
That she's a really creative, quite avant-garde artist with a very clear visual image and a unique sonic palette. And this guy just seems like he's jealous.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was probably seen, particularly for, was it I Want to Be Free, as a bit of a pretentious drama school brat kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
Because, she was, she'd been in episodes of Minder and she'd done a bit of telly and she was doing the music and stuff. And I think she was seen as more of an irritant by the male music press.
Yeah.
I mean, that bit that you mentioned there, Emma, about being more of an advertising campaign than an artist, and Toyah stands the ground on this really well, I think. But Dave's still kind of determined to bring it down.
He really is.
Yeah. And she says, I think that's up to the individual artist. I'm not satisfied with just touring everywhere. My favourite medium of presentation is TV. I think it's selfish for an artist to lock themselves up in little clubs all the time because they're denying other people seeing them. And then it comes in with this bit of condescension. What I meant was...
Yeah, exactly.
And he does that. So, what I meant was not quite what I meant.
Yeah.
For all the things she does, her biggest talent seems to be self-marketing.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then later on, when she gives this really articulate answer to one of his questions, he says, actually, that wasn't what I meant either. But since we're on the subject, and it really reminds me of, on Twitter these days, you get the reply guys.
Yeah.
And, you'll be having a conversation with somebody about something that you and the person that you're talking to know about. And then suddenly a reply guy will come in to your notifications and say, actually, I think you're fine. One of those pompous gits. And that's what he really seems to be in this article. And I found myself, as I was reading it, I felt angry. I felt really angry. And I remember thinking, my God, this is what women had to go through then, and to some degree still have to go through. How much has the world actually changed, really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Toyah. I'll put my hands up now. But it really did kind of stick in the throat with this piece. I mean, but there is an interesting bit, though, where he says, well, I didn't just mean the degree of exposure, but the packaging. And Toyah answers, but I do all that, she interrupts me. I won't have a man rule my life. I'm so against men telling me what to do. I've been so badly ripped off in the past 2 years. Now I'm managing myself, and it's hell. I never realised how much managers do, but I'm happy because I can organise everything. You can't just go to a photo session and let these things happen. I'll only do a photo session if someone's there to do clothes, makeup, hair, etc. I would do it myself, but that takes longer. I am terribly organised, but it's me who does that. Nobody else. Yeah. And she's really taken control of everything that she's doing.
She has. She's owning her own creativity and how that creativity is publicised. And why wouldn't she?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that you like Toyah. So, do you remember the first time you maybe saw her on Top of the Pops or heard one of her songs?
I think this tune, Brave New World, I remember really loving the eerie vocals. I was also massively into Kate Bush as well. So I've always been really attracted to music by strong, creative women. And I remember thinking even then, how odd it was that in the mix of Brave New World, her voice sits quite far back in the mix. It's really odd. It's like her voice is one of the instruments in the ensemble, and it's not pushed forward as a lot of lead vocals are. And I found that quite interesting as a kid. But yeah, what I really liked about Toyah, and I wasn't a massive Toyah fan, but what I really, really appreciated was how brave she was and how she would change the colour of her hair and she would change the makeup that she wore and she would jump around and do her own choreography and present herself in such a bold, assertive way. And I remember thinking that she was just a tour de force.
Well, like it says in the piece, and she says in the interview, it's all very much about her idea, isn't it, and her image. Yeah. And you never get the feeling with Toyah, again, like Sai, I certainly wouldn't say I was particularly a fan of her music, but I admire the fact that she's very driven. She's got a very clear idea of how she wants to be presented, and obviously workaholic as well. And she says exactly. When I have a day off, I've just got to do something with my job. That's the only thing I can think about, really. Every minute of my day is taken up. That's why you get so much exposure of me. It's because I'm available. But that's on her terms, and that's what she wants to do. But you don't feel like there's a record company dictating to her to do that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you can only admire her for that. And this piece is, as we've said, it comes across, it's very kind of, feels a bit kind of bitter and, patronising and negative. It's not a nice, it's really not a nice piece. And Smash Hits generally, certainly I think as it went on, were generally a lot more, I think a lot kinder to people they were interviewing.
Yeah, totally.
But at this stage still in the development of the magazine, I think there was still a little bit of the kind of the music critic kind of snobbishness or judgments or whatever that kind of came from the Enemy and Melody Maker and Sounds and that older school rock journalism. Later on, as it went through the 80s, it was more just about the eccentricity of the performer, and it was just more about having fun with them, but not in a way like this. I mean, just the fact that they pulled those quotes That her words about unsociable, arrogant, selfish, stubborn, and jealous. But that's the headline of the piece, and it's one little thing right at the end, and you don't really know the context of it.
It's just very snarky.
It does feel a bit of a, not a hatchet job exactly, but yeah, definitely snarky, and there's definitely something going on. And as you say, reading it now, you can't help but think it's probably, because of some kind of chauvinism on the part of the writer, presumably.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's really interesting that at the time, he probably came across as really quite clever. But now, all these years later, he just looks like a knob.
He does.
And how times have changed and how we see through it, really, far better now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd never write a piece like this.
No.
You'd never get away with a piece like that these days, would you?
Never.
And quite rightly.
And she giggles to herself, he ends, remembering the looks on their faces before going back outside to sign more autographs. And, it's dripping with this sort of sneer. It's just horrible. Horrible.
Yeah. Well, I think looking back, she was clearly an easy target.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of all her strengths, because she was making herself in such a strong artist, but one of my older brothers would take the mickey out of her because she was short, because she got a lisp, and he'd take the mickey out of me because I got a lisp and say I was like Toyah and stuff like that. So, yeah, you can see how she was an easy target. But now I think we can see that, my God, she was so defiant and must have been so strong to have done what she did in the face of things like this.
Totally. Because he says in the article, I ask her how many people work with her. She has 2 tour managers, she explains, and her guitarist Joel Bogan helps with the management. He's the technical businessman and I'm the idealist, she says. And she has a publicity person and a radio promotions person and an agent for her acting and a makeup artist and a hairdresser for photo sessions and ... It's like, my God, this woman she's a one-woman economy. She's created all these jobs and you're still having a go at her. It's like he was implying that she had this massive ego when actually she was just really busy and really successful and doing it well.
Turn a couple of pages past Chaz and Dave's advert for the latest album, Mustn't Grumble. The lyrics to Brave New World by Toyah. And then we get to some curious pictures. And there's one picture in particular here that I just wanted to flag up. So it's a 5-a-side football tournament organised by Capital Radio in London. It's at Queen's Park Rangers ground. And there's teams from Madness, The Beat, The Jets, Gillan, Funboy 3 and record producer Mickey Most. The picture I wanted to talk about was Terry Hall from the Funboy 3 is playing football in his moccasins. So he's so kind of on brand with the whole Funboy 3 image that he's not even thought, I'll get a pair of trainers on or some footy boots like everyone else. No, playing football in moccasins, that's a brave man right there. I just wanted to point that out. There was nothing more I had to say on that, but...
Well, the photos, the way that they're being cropped, because you don't actually see the football in them. So Suggs looks like he's doing a silly walk from Monty Python. And like I say, Terry Hall's just kind of mid kicking the ball, but you don't see the ball. It's almost like a spot the ball competition in Smash.
You're right. I never thought of that. There's not a ball in sight. No,
there isn't. But I do like the way that Suggs has obviously just put a lot of effort into kicking the ball. His legs right up in the air and his tongue's poking out. That's how much effort he's put into that.
That's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we leave the 5 aside, and there's UB40 with Love Is All Right and Mary Wilson. Did we ever get an issue without them? I think we've had 1 or 2, haven't we, Si, out of 20 odd?
Yeah. You're only ever 1 page away from UB40.
God bless him. And then we come across what's unusual in Smash Hits, I think, a page of interview with a band that didn't ever really have any chart success at all apart from the indie charts, and that's the Higsons. So they get a page spread. It's a very fanzine kind of interview conducted over the phone with Charlie Higson, the lead singer, who obviously went on to be in The Fast Show and be an author of great repute. And it really just goes through a bit of the history of the band. They talk about the fact that they're about to sign with a major label. And not too long after this, they ended up signing to Two Tone, which I guess may be why the hits are featuring them. They're trying to get ahead of the curve, but the curve wasn't there, and it was just a flat line, I'm afraid. No chart success for them. They did sell 10,000 copies of the single I Don't Want to Live With Monkeys, which is, respectable if hardly shattering total, as it says in the interview with Pete Silverton. As I mentioned before, really, the Higsons are kind of more of a footnote these days for the fact that Charlie Higson was a member. And he says towards the end, in the long run, I'd like to be a writer rather than a singer. I've still no ambition to be a pop star. good job, really, wasn't it? He says, I can't seem to take it seriously. Also, the band featured Terry Edwards, who was later of Gallon Drunk and worked with Nick Cave, PJ Harvey, Tom Waits, and many, many more. But yeah, an unusual choice for smash hits, I think.
Yeah, when he's talking about the phoning him at the record company's office in Norwich, and just the way it talks about the band, it all feels a very long way from London. So you get this real sense of, these bands that John Peel would play on the show if he'd been sent a tape or something like that. So you're really out in the sticks. But also, I'd never heard the Higsons before. So when I heard the song that was a single at the time, Conspiracy, I thought, it's a bit like Talking Heads, this. And he does mention Talking Heads in the piece. And I was thinking, it's a bit like Talking Heads, but if David Byrne was an absurdist comedian,
I wonder who did steal the bongos, because it's obviously based on true events.
Yeah. Good question. We'll never know.
I also like how he's talking about how they chose the name for the band. So Charlie Higson is known as Switch Higson for some reason at this point. He says he has an unusually ordinary downbeat voice that's nicely suited to his wry lyrics. The sense of humour is also shown in their choice of name. We'd been months trying to think of a proper name. They all thought I had a funny surname. So we used that. But you must understand that the band's called after my name, not me. We chose it to be anti-hip, as stupid as possible, and not something like Blue Rondo or Spandau Ballet. We never intended it to last as a name, but now we're stuck with it. Just thought it was interesting. It's just like, we've just got sort of found ourselves doing this. Oh, we're in Smash Hits now. Oops.
I think it's kind of notable. I guess it was probably one of the last times that Smash Hits would do a piece like this on a band with so little exposure. Because you think of everyone else, that's in it, Adamant, Toyah and the Bunnymen, people that were quite big or on the way to becoming quite big. But it was good that they took a chance on a smaller band, But yeah, a strange choice for the hits, I would say. Moving on, we get to Bits. Si, tell us what is happening in the world of Bits.
Well, lots of things, because that's Bits, isn't it? I mean, the beating heart of Smash Hits. There's a few little pieces that I shall pick out and highlight. And if there's anything that you would like to discuss, put your hand up. So the first little snippet is about Patrice Rushen, who was in the charts at that time with Forget Me Nots. It says here, a little interview with her. The English people were either going to love me or hate me, says Patrice Rushen. I was either going to read them completely right or completely wrong. And as it happens, I was right. She's referring to Forget Me Nots. That's one of the songs that was on the tape in the car that holiday. Her first UK disco hit that follows a full 5 years of assaulting the American charts. It's so violent. She modestly describes herself as a session musician who sings and is as impressed with English taste as it seems to be with her. The British respond to uniqueness, genuineness, and people who maintain a high standard, she continues in a soft Los Angeles drawl. A healthy attitude. I wish I could take a little of that back home with me.
Oh, she's soft soaping us here, isn't she?
She is.
Yeah. And then she says, she describes herself as, I'm the girl next door, a regular person, but on stage, I'm the girl next door, but you've entered her home and you're seeing what goes on inside.
What, she's making a cup of tea?
Yeah, and what goes on is a lot of activity, a lot of fire and positive energy.
Oh, well done, Patrice.
Yeah, she says, I'm not working on people's minds, just their feet. It's an amazing tune, but I just thought, what an odd view she's got of herself as an artist.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know kind of where she sits in the world, and there she is. She was an incredible musician, and Forget Me Nots is just an absolute banger of a tune. So, she'd been doing it a few years by now. You'd think she'd be a little more sure of herself, but yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for her in a way.
Very, very modest, isn't she?
You feel the imposter syndrome coming off this little interview. That when she says that I'm a session musician who sings, and that's somehow all she is, it's just, I think it's dead sad. I think a lot of people have trouble perceiving themselves as proper musicians, proper artists. It's like they can't give themselves permission, almost. Sad, really.
Yeah, there's no ego at all with Patrice, is there?
No, not at all, not at all.
Across the page, there's a little bit about Human League. Few British bands crack it in a big way in America on their first visit. The Human League, however, continue to carry all before them. Don't You Want Me, at the time of writing, sits at number 8 in the singles chart. It got to number 1 in America. And League live shows are going down a treat with the Colonials.
The Colonials, though.
I know. Included in these sort of shows are 3 new songs, You're My Baby, Don't You Know That I Want You, could cause a bit of confusion, that one, and a Joe Callis Motown-type composition christened I Can't Get to Sleep at Night, which we understand features Joanne and Susan on a Supreme-style oohs and ahs. And he says it's likely that one of these new tunes will be the next single, but there are no plans to record anything until September. There's confidence for you. So I went back and just did a little digging to see if I could find out more about these songs. And You're My Baby didn't get any further than some live performances, it would seem. And if you go on YouTube, there is from a bootleg recorded. Well, it says in France, but then there's some reply guy who says they was actually recorded in Milan.
I think you'll find, actually.
Yeah. And it's not brilliant. It's the first song of the set. Phil's not warmed up yet. He's a little bit off pitch, you know. Don't You Know That I Want You ended up on the album After Dare, so on Hysteria, a couple of years later. And I Can't Get to Sleep at Night, which it describes as a Motown-type composition. And I can't find any trace of that, so I'm wondering if that morphed into Mirror Man, because it absolutely fits that description.
It was. I did a bit of digging. I found something, because I thought it must be that with the U's and the R's. And I found something on a website. It was an interview with someone, and it said, it did become Mirror Man.
Wow.
So you were right, yeah.
Oh,
Which was that the next single? I don't know. It was a single at some point. Maybe not the next single, but...
No, I think it was, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good digging there, Gav.
Thank you.
Flipping the page, and then we get Billy Mackenzie's all-time top 10. And his responses are quite bizarre, to say the least. I mean, you know, we were finding Club Country hard to fathom. Well, he's an enigma to the last. So I'll just run through the songs that he's picked out, his 10 songs, and just read his comments. There's only like a few words for each one. So sitting at number 1, Hugo Montenegro, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. He makes me feel 10 feet tall. Mr. Blow, grooving with Mr. Blow. Don't ask me such mundane questions when you know I've just bought the wrong size of Levi's.
What?
Number 3, Billie Holiday, You've Changed, The Face of Tragedy. Now, I understand that one. That's okay. We're all with, we're okay with that one. Number 4, Lulu, To Sir With Love, All Heart, All Lulu. Okay. Number 5, David Bowie, Golden Years, A Real Man's Song. And I think it's interesting that he's picked that one out, because I think that actually gives an indication to his vocal style, because Dave does swoop around a lot in Golden Years, and there's a little falsetto angel in there, and it's very much the style that Billy would go on to sing in. Number 6, Nancy and Frank Sinatra, Something Stupid. Candy Floss at the Carnival. I'm sure he means the carousel, but there you go. Number 7, another interesting thing that kind of shows a bit of influence on Billy's style. Sparks, number 1 song in heaven. But his comment, Joanna Lumley, contact me as soon as possible.
I was trying to work that one out. I did not understand that at all.
No. Number 8, The Drowning Craze, Storage Case, The 3 E's, Erotic, Erogenous, and E-Record, which doesn't even appear to be a word, E-Record. But they were on the same label as Associates Situation 2. Number 9, big thumbs up for this one, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, The Girl from Ipanema. A new tub of Johnson's Baby Talcum Powder. I kind of know what it means. And number 10, Andy Williams, Can't Take My Eyes Off You, especially when I'm looking at the sun.
That's brilliant. What great choices and just great comments, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Don't ask me such mundane questions when you know I've just bought the wrong size of Levi's.
Couple more pages and we get to the singles reviews. Reviewed by David Hepworth in this issue. And straight away, what a single of the week. One of my favourite singles by this band, and they're one of my favourite bands. It's Echo and the Bunnymen, The Back of Love. He says, there was a time when the suggestion that the Bunnymen might actually have a hit would have been greeted with snorts of derision. Nowadays, I'm not so sure. Max sounds like he's fed up of loitering in the backwaters of hipness and brings forth an impassioned vocal that complements the urgent guitars and thundering drums of his colleagues, cutting loose and cutting deep as well. And as I was saying before, when we were looking through the lyrics for this issue, the singles as well, there's just some quality stuff. There's a real goldmine of stuff. Not every single one, but we've got House of Fun by Madness. We've got Temptation by New Order. Altered Images, Pinky Blue.
UB40.
UB40, of course. Even the Nolans crashing down. I love this. I never thought, in the last issue that we did, I found I was quite partial to the Shakin' Stevens one. And in this one, I'm partial to I don't know what's going on. I've been doing Giddy Carousel too long, maybe, but I think this is a great tune.
Dave's clearly got a good batch of singles this week, and he's having fun reviewing them. But I do like his review of the Nolans. Why are the Nolans always so agonised? Who is it that's forever standing them up, letting them down and treating them rough? Show me this heel. Has he no feelings at all, the bounder? I've had a recurring dream recently. I go into Marks and Spencer's to buy a string vest, and I'm surrounded by thousands of Nolans, all wearing identical uniforms, and asking, "Can I help you, sir?" Bernie is, of course, the supervisor. Is this healthy?
Bless him. And then, interestingly, you see the attitude to Toyah earlier on in the magazine bleed through into this review of Toyah's Brave New World, when he says, "What can I say? She seems such a nice girl," in italics, when she's on the box or talking in these pages. You can't help but admire her energy and utter professionalism. But as soon as she sings, I get this awful feeling that she's somehow exaggerating. All her songs have to be about some grand matter and sung with talent, competition, gusto. Knock 'em in the aisles, sock 'em in the back row of the balcony, grab 'em and shake 'em. My first instinct is to duck. That said, this is relatively restrained and should get on fewer nerves than the likes of It's a Mystery. So he's really not a fan, is he?
No, it's funny how he sort of makes the same point as Dave Rimmer, you know, that thing about I'm not a fan, but...
Yeah.
And that's unusual because you don't normally get that, particularly in smash hits. You know, they never really say that kind of thing, but for some reason with Toyah, they always have to say, I don't like her, but I admire this, that and the other about her. But then I'm just very conscious that I said exactly the same thing earlier on.
There was no snark though, Gav.
No, thank you, Emma. I hope there was no snark. No, there's certainly no snark intended.
No, not at all. But it's just this sort of, I don't know, there's this veil of criticism. That, I mean, I know it's, you know, I know he's criticising the music on this page, but I don't know, it's just sort of, it's patronising, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's that thing with looking back in hindsight. At the time, no one would have batted an eyelid to this, but as now, there's kind of undertones that you see very clearly. Any of these records that you would have gone out and bought at the time, Emma?
Now then, did I buy any? I did listen quite a lot to House of Fun because a friend of mine was massive into Madness, and he was older than me. And I used to think that this was a very rude song because I understood at 12 that there was something not quite what I would talk to my teachers or my parents about to do with the balloons and the party poppers, all this stuff. And I remember thinking that it was somehow edgy and daring. So I listened to that quite a lot, but I'm not sure. I think I might have bought the Susie and the Banshees one. I would definitely not have bought the Nolans. Tell you that in a heartbeat.
No, I certainly wouldn't have done. I would now, but I wouldn't have done then.
And I definitely wouldn't have bought Altered Images. Wasn't an Altered Images fan.
Why was that? Was it her voice or the sound of the music? Or
I did find her voice a little sickly sweet for my palate.
It is a bit. It's a bit like Bonnie Langford kind of style, isn't it? You know, that kind of little girl.
She's
kind
trying
of thing.
to be a little girl, and it's just so appealing. And it's no, couldn't bear it. Bless her.
Fair enough.
I quite liked Altered Images, but I'm not one of these guys who's got a thing for Claire Grogan, so I think I'm, in the minority there. She's very, very pleasant and all that. I'm sure she's a very nice lady, but yeah, I don't go all gooey when I think about Gregory's Girl. But I've always liked their music, and I've always found that when you scratch below the surface of that kind of that effervescent front, that top layer. There's actually quite a lot of sadness and darkness in there.
Yeah, I could be happy. It's a devastating song, actually.
It is. Yeah, always been a fan of their music. I've never been a fan of classics nouveau, though. Even at the time, I could see that they were late to the futurist party. I quite like David's review, though. Brian Ferry has a lot to answer for. If it hadn't been for early Roxy music, then half the young singers in the country wouldn't feel free to deliver songs from behind clenched teeth. So I've been trying that to see what happens, and he's quite right. But you have to clench your teeth and not move your mouth very much, and then you do this kind of Brian Ferry, David Bowie, and that's how it comes out. So and you notice that. That a lot of bands of that time, they were singing in this sort of style, and that's what they're doing. Is clench your teeth.
Were they trying to be a little bit Bowie?
Yeah,
they were absolutely trying to be
like
Bowie,
a new romantic Bowie kind of
slash Ferry.
Yeah, they were basically racy. They were trying to be, then kind of catch up and be like Bowie and the new romantics, the futurists.
Yeah, but I mean. I didn't know until today. Classics Nouveau were formed from the ashes of X-Ray Specs.
You see, again with the X's. Maybe that's why there's two X's in Classics Nouveau.
Yeah, but why they got Duncan Goodhue as the singer, I don't know.
I'm just thinking, Emma, while you're here as well, we should mention that there's the Gap Band.
Oh, I didn't know. Do you know, I had a little bet with myself then, Gav, that you were going to say this. Go on.
Well, it just seems like too good an opportunity to miss. As a former voice of the London Underground, can you say Mind the Gap Band, please?
Of course I can. Brace yourself. Mind the Gap Band.
Hey, thank you so much. You've made all my dreams come true.
We'll just end the show right now. Well done.
That's it. The carousel stopped spinning.
That's all we wanted you for, Emma.
You won't be the first man to say that, Simon.
No, I'm hey. Moving on to one of my favourite features in the magazine, Get Smart, which is always very entertaining. And kind of all bases are covered in this one, really. We've got what Martin Fry looks for in a woman. And he says, well, ABC fan in Hull asks that question, and Marty considers tenderness and a big record collection to make a girl that little bit special. Can't fault him for that at all. A question about where you can buy your own Chaz and Dave piano keyboard ties.
Nice.
Some biographical info is required on China Crisis, and there's also a question about the meaning of the Hindi lyrics in Monsoon's Ever So Lonely. I think my favourite two letters in this are someone asks, can you tell us where Duran Duran get their slash-necked striped T-shirts from? Robert Moore in Dagenham. And the reply is, Simon and the boys buy their sailor tops from, in quote marks, good quality yachting shops. They're usually a mix of wool and nylon and cost around £23 each.
Mega money.
Flipping heck. Yeah, that is serious money. That's probably about 100 quid or more in today's money.
You've got to pay for your wool nylon mix. That's what you got. It doesn't come cheaply.
Really doesn't. Says less expensive cotton versions, however, are widely available in large stores like Topshop, and these sell for around £5. So that's more your pocket money kind of price. It's still expensive, but, you know,
it
affordable.
is. And I do wonder how many good quality yachting shops there are in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Where did they really get them from?
Yeah. That's a good question. Not thought of that. Yeah, I mean, Birmingham's as far as you can get, really, from anywhere where a yacht might be, unless you want one on Bullseye. And even then, you know, there wouldn't be a shop just selling tops for it. So, no, more questions than answers. There's also a question about a favourite person of mine. Someone asks, is the Graham Fellows, who recently appeared on television in Visiting Day, the same person as Jilted John? And the response is, yes, they are one and the same. Jilted John's finest hour was back in 1978 when his second single, also called Jilted John, spent 12 weeks in the charts. Alas, all his records are now deleted. If you want to investigate further, try the bargain bins. So, yeah, nothing else to add there. But obviously we know that Graham Fellows ended up being John Shuttleworth.
Yeah.
And, Jilted. I love Jilted John's album, True Love Stories, is fantastic. Okay, exciting news time. We've got a new thing to introduce, the Giddy Carousel. Emma, you're very lucky. You're the first person to have this. Because obviously Smash Hits was well known. You know, one of its unique selling points was the fact that there were so many lyrics in there. And we don't really ever talk much about the lyrics. So I thought we'll do a little lyrics quiz. So I'm going to give you a few couplets from songs that are in this issue.
Oh, God.
Where the lyrics are.
No.
So if you want to look at the contents page to give you a bit of a clue, that might help.
Oh, I'm on the spot now, Gav.
I'll be asking Si as well. It's not all the pressure on you.
Genius style.
It's just a bit of fun, Emma. It's just a bit of fun.
I'm terrible with lyrics.
And you can play along at home as well. So, number 1, Cheesy has gone away. Where has he gone today?
Oh,
Go on, Emma. I'll give you first dibs on this one. Cheesy has gone away. Where has he gone today? Oh, Si's looking confident here.
Oh, my God. You know when you can almost half hear something from like a million years ago and it's sort of on the fringes of your memory? That rings a very, very distant bell. Is it Scritti Politti?
It's not. Sorry. Gonna have to pass it over to Si.
I'm going to hazard a guess because she sings "Where Are You" in the song. Altered Images, Pinky Blue?
It is. Pinky Blue, yeah.
Well, I knew Simon would get it.
I didn't.
You might get this one because it's got such a strange opening lyric. I just got back from Africa to the beat of Shuck and Jive.
Oh, Lordy.
I just got back from Africa to the beat of Shuck and Jive.
Is it the rhythm of the jungle?
Yay! Well done, it is. It's the quick.
The quick.
I just got back from Africa like it's Tesco's, you know? Yeah, from which bit? All of Africa. All of it.
I say I did look at that video on I listened to it on the Spotify playlist. I thought he was going to be like an Imagination type band. You know, I was expecting, you know, a Lee John type fruiting around in a loincloth.
A golden loincloth.
Yeah, no, yeah. And then I watched the video and it's these pasty white guys. One of whom is, well, the singer is trying desperately to be Brian Ferry, just sort of like and doing stuff.
Good.
Yeah, but he's got his sleeves rolled up on his jacket, you know, and he's got a skinny tie on and stuff. Very much, you know, sort of late 70s, early 80s Ferry. But the whole video with you know, like little close-ups of the band and stuff, it just looked like a sketch from Russ Abbott's Madhouse. If there was, you know,
it's not even that good.
Yeah, it was sort of like 1983, and Russ Abbott and his writers, let's you know do a sketch about a band, and they'd be inspired by you know Tight Fit, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, but they stick a bit of like New Romantic in there, so they do like a Tight Fit Duran Duran hybrid, and I think this is what they would have come up with.
Yeah, it's appalling. It's terrible, absolutely terrible.
Anyway, I take away from your quiz.
Third lyric: remove the thorn from the lion's claw. Hear my words. Pain no more.
The thorn from the lion's claw.
Hear my words. Pain no more. What are you going with, Emma?
Is that Susie and the Banshees?
No.
It's not, is it?
It's not.
I've humiliated myself, Gav.
No, not at all.
Oh, it's
what about you, Si? What do you reckon?
It's one of the few lyrics I read in the issue.
Again, Simon. You know.
Well, it was all there. It's Toyah, Brave New World.
It is, yeah. It's a brave new world when you remove the thorn from the lion's claw. Pain no more. Two left. Ooh, it's too easy to live in a cold sweat, dripping in pools below.
Oh, dear. Ooh. That's not a very appealing lyric, is it?
It's not, is it? Ooh, it's too easy to live in a cold sweat, dripping in pools below. It's a bit unsavoury.
Is that Echo and the Bunnymen?
It isn't.
No, you boys.
That's all right.
I've got no idea. I'm going to guess this one just because, there's so many members in UB40. Maybe it did get a bit sweaty being in the band.
I like your reasoning, Si. That's very good. But no, it's Genesis, Paper Late.
Oh, God.
Getting all sweaty there. Okay, last one. Take the man in the brown shirt, a burning hatred in his eyes. Ooh. Fired by ignorant reaction, fanned by political lies. Who would say such a thing? Take the man in the brown shirt, a burning hatred in his eyes, fired by ignorant reaction, fanned by political lies.
Is that the Jam?
No.
No.
No, it isn't.
I'm going to let you have another guess, Emma. I don't know.
End the pain, Si.
End the pain?
Yeah, honestly. You're going to get it. I'm just...
Remove the thorn from the lion's claw. Pain no more, Si. What do you reckon it is?
Well, I think I want it to be A Little Piece by Nicole, but I think it's going to be Faithless by Scritti Politti.
No, you're wrong on both of them, I'm afraid. It's
Oh,
You
am
Be
I?
Bloody 40.
You be bloody 40.
Hey,
Of course.
You be bloody 40.
40.
love
Of
is all
course.
is all right.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, well, that was a successful round.
Love it.
Si won, though.
Well done, everyone. Thank you for playing along with me and for indulging me.
It's just for fun. I wasn't keeping score.
No, it's fine. It's
But
fine.
thank you, everyone.
Hey.
We get to the feature on Echo and the Bunnymen. With Johnny Black, he's gone to visit them. I think he's in Liverpool. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Liverpool's best-known underground exports sell loads of albums, but have yet to score that elusive hit single. Could this be the big one? Now, it's not the first time that we've encountered Echo and the Bunnymen in Smash Hits. They would have featured in the magazine previously, but it gives a little bit of background to the band, because I think it is clear that momentum's building. They're on the cusp of greater success. And The Back of Love did indeed become their first top 20 single. But Johnny begins. It's a little known fact that Liverpool is the only city in Britain where every inhabitant has, at one time or another, played in a band with every other inhabitant. It's true. Take Echo and the Bunnymen. Tousle-topped, boudoir-eyed vocalist Ian McMculloch was previously in the Crucial Three, a short-lived outfit which included Julian Cope with Teardrop Explodes and Pete Wiley, now of Shambeko, Say Wah. Even Echo, the band's drum machine, moonlighted in another band. You can hear him thrashing his diodes on the first Orchestral Manoeuvres album, blending perfectly with Winston, who, you may already be aware, is OMD's tape recorder. Now, it's not the most revealing piece, I don't think, about the band. Like I say, it's mostly just kind of like a recap. Here's Echo and Bunnymen to date. And when it gets to talking about their second LP, Heaven Up Here, released a year ago in May 1981, it says the band completed their touring schedule with a short, low-budget film, Shine So Hard, based around a concert in Buxton, Derbyshire, but not far away from where I'm sitting right now.
Wow.
And some arty links shot in a hotel. Les reflects on its brooding air of menace. I didn't like it much. It was really embarrassing to see myself on film where everything I did looked unnatural. It would take 3 hours to do a 3-second shot, and it looked that way too, grumbles Pete. But he goes on to talk about that they've just finished a mini tour of the Scottish Highlands, whose memorable moments come in the frozen wastelands of Wick, a stone's throw from where Scotland abruptly ends at John O'Groats. Mac took an instant dislike to the place and labelled it Huddersfield-on-Sea. The sight, he says, of their bright orange tour van, wipers on, head and hazard lights flashing, was undoubtedly the strangest thing they ever saw. When he asked the only resident punk why he remained in such a godforsaken place, the reply was, because I sign on here.
Oh, social comment.
Right now, the third Bunnymen album is in progress and a new single, The Back of Love, has just been released. All these chart groups seem to be writing about love in a very surface way, says Mac, and I wanted to sing about it as a real emotional thing, not some scummy trash. The song is direct and powerful, and if it's an indication of things to come, the album will be their best yet.
How old were Echo and the Bunnymen at this point in their careers?
Well, looking at the photo, about 12.
Yeah. When he says it's their best yet, you just think, oh my God, what did they do before this? Because they do look so young in that picture, don't they?
They do, yeah. I don't know, I guess pretty much very early 20s, right? 20, 21, that kind of age, I think.
Yeah, no older than 25. I mean, if you consider Max probably a similar age to Julian Cope, maybe a year younger or something like that. So I think he was born in 57 or something.
57, 58. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, probably like 24.
Yeah, 20s. Yeah, 20 to 25, but not a day older, and all looking much younger than
But again,
that.
their music, when I was 12 in 1982, I always thought that, again, like Susie and the Banshees, it was proper music. It was music that older people would be sort of more entitled to listen to because they seem so old and mature and sort of together. It's very odd. And now I see this picture of them, they do look so young.
But it's interesting you saying about, because Emma, you were talking earlier about the Doors.
Yeah.
And obviously like the Bunnymen have got there's a similar sound and they were big Doors fans. Did that endear you to the Bunnymen at the time, or was it still like, oh, I can't really listen to them, they're a bit too old for me?
It was they're a bit too sophisticated for me. And I don't think I can plausibly call myself, I haven't earned the right to call myself a fan. There was a lot of that going on in my head when I was 12, definitely. I think that came from the fact that I was into such odd music, and a lot of my friends thought that was really odd, and that I was into music that they'd never heard before or hadn't really listened to before, and that I was in this sort of hinterland of starting to like pop music and sort of being intrigued by all these different genres of music that was emerging from the 80s at this point, and then just sort of not knowing where I sort of sat. And music helps you find your identity, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah.
It certainly did for me, and I had not found any of my identity yet. So I think my relationship with Echo and the Bunnymen really typifies that, because at the time, as I say, I didn't think that I could plausibly listen to them, whereas now I think their music has aged beautifully.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, it sounds better now than it did at the time. I don't know whether it's something about the zeitgeist where we're living. There's something about their music which has really become enriched by time, I think.
What's interesting about this as well, it was before the time, because obviously Ian McCulloch got a reputation a year or two later, particularly in the weekly music papers, of being Mac the Mouth, and he would always be the one that was interviewed. But here it's very much a band thing, isn't it? Before he had developed into the spokesperson for the band.
Yeah.
I guess like you often saw it, like, with interviews with the Smiths early on, it was kind of the whole band, and then before long it was just Morrissey, because he gave good quotes and he'd always have lots of stuff to say, and it was the same with Ian McCulloch. But I just wanted to quickly mention as well, before we move on from Echo and the Bunnymen, they talk a little bit about the fact that they wear camouflage. They had been wearing camouflage. It talks about the first album, Crocodiles, and it says, although the album was a hit, their singles hardly dented the charts, and the band launched into a seemingly endless touring schedule, creating a mini fashion among their fans for camouflage clothing by wearing camo for all their appearances. And later on, they talk about the fact that it's in the film that Si already mentioned, Shine So Hard. And Pete says, still, it's good that we have that camo period on film because we don't wear it anymore. The move away from camo is explained with laudable honesty. It was falling apart and getting smelly. Good reason to change your look, isn't it, that?
Brilliant.
Bless him. Let's leave them there, looking very young, with his boudoir eyes. What a lovely expression that is. We come up to RSVP. Si, who's in this issue?
Well, I can just first of all say no heavy metal.
Yeah.
There's a good bunch of people here. And I'll just read a couple out. I mean, the first letter, this person's gone to some effort. I'm going underground because I never get any letters. I'd like Jam fans from all around the world to write to me. Whether you're in the city or a strange town, start writing now. But if you're an absolute beginner, just tell me the news of the world. Please send pics if possible, because this is the modern world. So that person's put some effort in. Whereas
later on the page, you've got from Berry, you've got 2 females, 1 boys, 13 to 15, must be fit. And this is Tor and Sarah writing from Bury.
Must be fit.
13 to 15, must be fit. Love it. But, I'd love to see if these people are still at those addresses and actually what happened to them as a result of writing smash hits. How amazing would that be?
I'm just thinking, I think fit, I think in Burnt, I grew up in Solihull, and I don't think I'd have known what fit was in that sense. I'd have just thought it meant that you could run a bit, and you know what I mean? I could have written in and gone, yeah, I'm quite fit. I play football twice a week, I wouldn't have been the kind of person they were after, would I? I loved, there's a few there, like Tracy and Sally, the Ant fans. They say 2 15-year-old girls, Tracy and Sally, want 2 good-looking boys, 15 or over, to write to. We like Japan, Adam and the Ants, Visage, and any other futurist music. No mods, punks, heavy metal, or rock and roll fans. Photos, please. That's Portland, Dorset. I mean, I was 12, so they wouldn't have been happy with me writing to them, but if I saw the words Adam and the Ants, then I would have definitely been interested. One person I think isn't going to get any letters at all is Keith Jones. He says, Lonely male. I mean, if any two words are guaranteed to put a female off right into them, I think lonely male would probably do the trick. Lonely male 21 into heavy metal, ELO and OMD. Seeks female pen pals 20-25.
Older women.
Yeah. And then his hobbies, again, I don't think he's getting anyone writing to him for his hobbies. Football, writing poems, and receiving letters. Receiving letters, that's not a hobby. That's just something you do, mate. That's not a hobby. He's not got the hang of it at all. Come on, girls, don't be shy. Again, that's not going to get anyone writing to you. So, sorry, Keith, from Rainhill Hospital.
Oh.
What? There's another story there, isn't there? Anyway, let's not delve into that.
Ward, Rainhill Hospital, Prescott, Merseyside. Yeah.
Anyone you would have written to, Emma?
Anybody I'd have written to? You see, I would probably have taken pity on poor Keith Jones.
Lonely male, 21?
Yeah.
You were 12?
Well, I wouldn't have written to him at 12.
Oh, right.
But, I think if I was going to write to anybody when I was 12, I might have, I don't know. This is quite interesting. Hi, I'm a Russian and into many kinds of music. I'm a disc jockey and live near to Moscow. I'd like to write to anyone of any age living anywhere.
You see, I read that and alarm bells started going, in this post-U-Tree age that we live in.
Yeah.
Anyone of any age, anywhere. Yeah.
All of these are wanting people that were, I was too young to write to at the time. And I would have probably written to Tracy and Sally. And I would have written to Demos as well. I'm almost 17. Fave groups include Human League, OMD, Ultravox, and ELO, which for me was a winning combination in 1982. But it is where it goes wrong for me. I'd like to hear from girls anywhere in the world, so never mind.
And then there's this one, which is fantastic. Hello there. My name is Kev. That's short for Kevin.
Oh, thanks, Kev. I would have never known that until you pointed it out.
Short for? Love that.
And I think Darren's not been paying attention to the lyrics of the bands that he likes. He says, I'm a 15-year-old loony with a weird sense of humour, likes Bob Marley, UB40, The Beat, Madness, Crass and Exploited. Dislikes politics.
Oh, God.
So, hold on a minute. So you like Crass, but you dislike politics. Okay. Futurists and normal, sane people. It's like, Darren...
Yeah.
You've just kind of contradicted yourself with your dislikes there.
Like you say, Crass, UB40 were a very political band as well. But Darren obviously...
The Beat.
Wasn't, and The Beat, yeah, and Bob Marley. I mean, yeah, all of them, really.
I mean, what do you think Stand Down Margaret was about?
Yeah.
Margaret, just his nan. Or something, I don't know. Yeah.
But what's also striking from this page is that they print the full addresses of these kids.
Terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, Angela Walsh from Bristol, her whole address is there. And Alison Lyons and Lynette Neeklin, we know where they live. We literally know where they live. It's too much information. And I'm still very bothered by Keith Jones in Rainford Ward, Rainhill Hospital. Very worried about him. What does the Rainford Ward specialise in? How long's he been there?
Yeah.
Many questions. I mean, is that literally where he lives?
Well, it seems to be. I mean, it must be, right? If he's given that as his address for Smash It.
I'm going to look up Rainford Ward, Rainhill Hospital.
Yeah, Keith, we want to know your story.
Yeah.
This has got to be a joke because the Rainford Ward was an interim secure unit. Somebody's taking the rise. It was a very large psychiatric hospital complex that was located in Rainhill, formerly Lancashire, but now Merseyside. No, somebody's taking the mickey.
Oh, do you think someone
has
done it as a joke for like a mate of theirs called Keith Jones?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, lonely male 21. Yeah, that makes sense, actually, because I thought it was very strange just that no one's going to write to you. Good detective work there, Emma.
Thank you very much. I'm a policeman's daughter, you see.
Oh, that's it, clearly. Good attention to detail there. Si, I believe you want to talk about the Woolworths advert.
Well, I was all set to skip past this. And I thought, hold on, what's going on here? Because obviously, first of all, your eyes are drawn to the fact that you can get Duran Duran's Rio or the new Squeeze album for $4.49 on LP or tape in the Woolworth or Woolco Blitz price. It says the best choice of records and tapes at super low prices. You can also get Altered Images, Associates, Clash, Killing Joke, Queen, and Joan Jett for the same price. But then I started looking at the photo that it's overlaid on, and it's this kind of new romantic. It's a new romantic couple.
Mm.
You know, they've got Toyah-esque doodlings on their foreheads, and a very kind of tousled and teased hair. He's in a stripy. Well, it's a blouse he's wearing, isn't it? I mean, look at those sleeves. That's a blouse.
It's very early Spandau Ballet, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's got a very ballooned sleeved top going on there as well. And they're kind of held in some sort of like, I don't know, is it kind of like a ballet pose, or is it supposed to be, is it he's holding her and they're in some sort of like dance pose, I think.
It looks like a very miserable pas de deux, doesn't it?
Is that what it is?
And there's a lot of hair product going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why he's turning his head away from her hair and looking down a bit, because he just got a mouthful of hairspray, probably. Because her hair is sticking up in such a remarkable fashion that, I mean...
defies gravity.
Yeah, an absolute trolley full of product there. But then it's the little caption. After working in the bank all week, it's off to Woolworth for the music and onto the dance floor for a quick 1-2. And then I just started looking at it a bit more, and I think Blitz Price are they referring to the Blitz Club in London? And did they think that they were, drawing these things together in a clever way? And none of it works on any level, really. But I was just rather captivated with it for a few moments.
Yeah, because I've never seen people like that work in a bank.
No,
not with that makeup.
Definitely not.
Well, maybe that's how, it's not doodlings on the forehead, it's the rubber stamp from the local branch.
That West Orpington. Yeah. I'm wondering if the reason he looks so depressed is, as you were saying before, Emma, about how long it would take to get the gel out of it. And I bet he's thinking, it's going to take me all of Sunday to get this out.
This was a mistake.
Yeah. You know what hair gel was like in the 80s? It was right sticky, wasn't it? It'd clog your comb up. Take ages to get out. 3 air washes to get it out. So, yeah. That's me Sunday buggered, isn't it? That's what he's thinking.
So he's many questions about who are these people? Where have they come from? What's their intention?
Which bank do they work in? We move on past the Quick's Rhythm in the Jungle. Just got back from Africa, and Scritti Politi's Faithless. And the reason that I would have bought this issue at the time, it's an interview with Adamant. Stand and deliver? ? Supply and demand, more like. If people want it, says Adam, then they're going to pay. How much for an interview, says Mark Ellen. So Mark, a previous guest on the carousel, has gone to see Adam, recently Son Leont. And let's just start with the first paragraph from the interview. He says, I've gone solo because it's a challenge, for God's sake. I'm starting from scratch. My fans can turn around and say, well, we liked Adam and the Ants, but we don't like you. And that's it. So I have to fight and set myself new challenges and keep fighting. What's the point of a fight to the death when you fought them all and beat the best? He doesn't let up, does he? Exactly a year ago, Adam and his ants were on top of the heap. 12 months later, despite going it alone, he appears to have absolutely no intention of giving up that seat for anyone. He seems, in fact, to be even more determined to conquer the charts than when we last met in December. I'm tempted to say he's obsessed.
Oof.
Most of the above quote he delivers with his eyes screwed shut, his fists clenched, his brow furrowed, tilting his chair in a back room of CBS Records to the point where it's just about to fall over backwards. In keeping with this tight-lipped frame of mind, he's dressed, apart from a pair of blue and white leather shoes, entirely in black. A skull and crossbones dangles from his left earlobe, and he attends occasionally to a cup of coffee balanced on his knee, though it must have gone cold by now. I must have challenges, he repeats, opening his eyes. That's the only way I can earn people's respect.
Oof.
Oh, that's quite a tough opening, that, isn't it?
It's not an easy read. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I read this piece. I was concerned about him. I really was.
Me too.
He seems very, very isolated. And he admits to being a workaholic, but it seems like he's reached some sort of mania with it, and that he's just heading, I can see it now. He's just heading towards some kind of burnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, oh mate, this is really distressing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see just in that photo of him on the next page after the first page has a full colour photograph. He doesn't look happy, does he?
He really
doesn't.
Happy. And I remember looking at this picture, being quite shocked to see him without makeup for one of the first times, and thinking that he looked like he'd been crying.
Yeah, there's a real puffiness around the eyes, isn't there?
There really is. I mean, maybe he'd just taken his makeup off and, he'd been scrubbing at his eyes for a while. I don't know. But he does look unhappy, and he does look as if he's just had a good weep.
So Adam and the Ants had split up with release of probably the weaker single, Ant Rap.
Yeah.
But then he'd come back with Goody Two Shoes, which had gone to number 1. But he really, despite the fact that he's still back on top of the charts, he comes across as very grumpy throughout this and defensive. And as I said, like a real workaholic and incredibly driven, but not at all happy, not enjoying it, and just very prickly all the way through. And Mark Ellen isn't an interviewer that is generally like very tough on people or combative. But even then, he seems somehow to have fired up Adam, for whatever reason. And it feels like he's got a lot to prove. And
yeah, I don't think he's just been not necessarily fired up by Mark, but maybe he trusted Mark because
maybe.
Yeah, Mark had gone to see them when we spoke to Mark and did that episode with him, and he'd gone to France to track down the Ants with no prior warning to try and get an interview with them. And Adam and the Ants recognised how important Smash Hits was to them. And it was the only time that Adam appeared on the cover, that 1981 issue.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's more of, Adam sees Mark as somebody that he can trust and that he's opening up with some of this, because he wouldn't really talk to much of the music press anyway, because, they didn't like him. Similar attitude that Toyah was met with is what Adam and the Ants were met with in the weeklies.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he's just kind of opening up and we'll just get this dark stuff.
Because it is dark, isn't it? It really is. He just seems very unhappy in his own skin, really. And it's like he's trying to seek validation. And when Mark Ellen quotes this comment from Nick Haywood about Adam Ant in the issue before last, in April the 29th, 1982, when Nick Haywood apparently said, if you cater for a really young audience, then you die with them. You can be nice, but if you become over nice, you become sickly and boring. And I remember thinking, even as a 12-year-old, I wonder if Adam Ant ever intended that children, because it was a lot of children who really loved music, whether that was actually heartbreaking to him, that he was really just appealing to kids. And then this whole notion that you're nice, but maybe you're over nice is the whole basis behind Goody Two Shoes, which is quite a grumpy, defensive song as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think he certainly wanted to be a massive pop star, didn't he?
Yeah.
But then probably, maybe after, a year and a half at the top, and once the reality had kicked in, then it's just like, no, it's not as much fun as it seemed. And, and he clearly isn't happy here, is he?
Yeah, no.
He talks a lot about Gary Tibbs and Terry Lee Mile that had recently left the Ants, and he's very bitter about them. It says, Ant persons Tibbs and Mile had clearly had enough. The fact that Adam refuses to blame on the heavy workload. I did it, he says, indignant, so they could do it. That's what they were getting paid for. You can't be namby-pamby about it. If they wanted to reap the benefits, they had to get in there and do the nitty-gritty, and they weren't. He's even less amused at suggestions that the eventual Ant split was partly due to a growing disinterest in young audiences. That, he says, wincing, was a rumour spread by somebody who obviously didn't like me. My gigs were open to kids of any age, and as I've always maintained, music has no age limit. If my audience is young, they can grow old with me. If they're old, they can grow young with me. And then, there's a comment from Nick Haywood. But he just very kind of bitter and the next album, or the album that Goody Two Shoes was on, Friend or Foe, there's a lot of lyrics about fame. The next single, Friend or Foe, again sort of reflects on it. And there's a track on the album called Here Comes the Grump. Yeah. Saying like, it starts off with if you're at number 1, the only way is down.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of that self-expression, because up until this point, he'd been doing like the art school punk stuff of Dirt Wears White Socks, and then obviously the kind of Native American and the pirate and the highwayman and the Prince Charming and all that kind of stuff. And suddenly the one thing he was talking about was how crap it is to be a pop star, when everyone wants a bit of you. And, and I think it just got to that point.
Then later on in the interview, Mark Ellen says, and what do you think of Spandau Ballet? And he replies, not a lot. You ask me what I think of them. I don't think of them at all. They're not stylish. They're not fashionable. Style is knowing who you are. And then it seems to become too intense too quickly. You know, he just seems really lost in himself at this
there's
point.
not an ounce of humour in any of it.
There really
it's very serious.
I was quite surprised, actually, when I reread this interview, just how bitter he was. And like Sam said, I was really worried about him.
Yeah, you think his personality perhaps wasn't best suited for being a pop star at that level, and particularly one with such young fans.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, another interesting part of it is the fact that Mark asks him about the reasons why his music publisher asks for twice as much or more than twice as much for the lyrics for Adam. And this was quite interesting. He says, "This is why you don't always see his latest song words in these pages at the time of the single's release. We don't see, as in Smash Hits, don't see why the words to Goody Two Shoes should cost more than twice as much as, say, Town Called Malice." Adam maintains, "You get to a certain point where your stuff is worth something, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, why does a record cost £5? It's not worth £5. It probably costs less than £1 to make, so why were you paying £5? Because that's the value of it to the public. If people want it," he insists, "then they're going to pay. So you really think your lyrics are worth twice as much as anyone else's?" "And more," he grins. "It's just as if I said to you, do you think Smash Hits is worth 38 pence or 10 pence? Mark says, "How dare you? It's worth £1 a copy, maybe 2. There you go then, that's business. And there's none like show business. Of that we can all be certain."
Wow. There's a lot going on there, isn't there?
There really is a lot going on, yeah. I think that, there's a lot of similar themes to the interview with Toyah as well, isn't there? The kind of the workaholic side and just being so driven and very wary of being ripped off as well. Adam mentions it in this and Toyah does as well. And it's interesting because they kind of came through they were both in Jubilee together, the Derek Jarman film, and they were both part of that kind of, they kind of came through punk initially, kind of went in slightly different directions, but both kind of jaded. I think Adam more so than Toyah by this point, but then he'd really been through the mill of fame by this point, hadn't he?
Yeah, totally. He just seems very tired as well. Grumpy and tired, needs a good kip.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but he says he goes on holiday and didn't relax.
Yeah.
So not even a holiday is doing him any good.
No, because it says certainly a degree of Adam's drive derives from a ceaseless desire to keep proving himself. And there's something really sad about that whatever he's achieved is never enough.
Yeah, because they've been massive in America, massive in the UK. I mean, massive across the world, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
And still, it wasn't enough, and he had to felt he had to keep proving himself again and again. And obviously, from this point on, it was kind of ever diminishing returns. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it did make me sad reading this again.
Yeah, me too.
Because I mean, I remember reading at the time and not really thinking of any of this because it was, it was just a bloke talking about adult stuff about being a pop star, and it was adamant, so it was exciting. But reading it now, just think, oh yeah, what a shame that
he
felt like that and he couldn't enjoy it,
So we leave Adamant stewing in his own juices and move on to the letters page. And there's quite a few lively pieces of correspondence on this one. Let's start off with this from the first column. "When I went to a record shop a few weeks ago, I was appalled to see Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast at number 1 in the album chart." Heavy metal again. Oof. Surely the band have better things to sing about than black magic, hell and devils. To add to my disgust, there was that awful front cover and that Revelations rubbish on the back. Please, Iron Maiden, use your talents on something sensible. And that's from Oliver Nudd in Kirkcaldy.
That's from Cliff Richard.
Quite a few moany letters. People have got some axes to grind. Somebody having a whinge about Haircut 100. What is the world coming to when a band can come crashing into the music scene, have a couple of hits, and totally disrupt Great Britain? I refer, of course, to Haircut 100. Now, calm down, Haircut fans. I'm not going to insult your loved ones. Well, not exactly. They're a good-looking bunch with talent, but personally, I'm sick of the sight of them. Come now, you must admit that the little upstarts are vastly over-publicised. They're plugged on the radio and magazines, not to mention a forthcoming TV series. It is so fashionable to like them. Such a nice, clean-cut band. And there's that phrase, kind of, it harks back to what was in the Toyah thing, over-publicised.
Yeah.
Is this a bit of a fascination, a bit of an obsession at the time? If bands get popular, they're seen as selling out or something like that.
There seems to be something about that, doesn't there? That if you market yourself too effectively, then you're somehow less of an artist in some way. It's somehow manufactured and less authentic.
There's definitely a thread of that. You get that in that letter, and when I read that, it just immediately took me back to that Toyah piece. Any letters there that either of you would like to highlight and discuss?
Just looking at this one that says, "It makes me gasp." This is from Poison Penelope from Leighton. "It makes me gasp to hear people say that Mary Wilson has a great voice. It's unbelievably lacking in the soul that she arrogantly proclaims to be the Neasden queen of. She must have taken a perfectionist course in rotten singing, which, incidentally, Toyah must have been a star pupil." Ooh. And again, this Toyah hatred. Speaking of whom, did you see her in Tales of the Unexpected? It must have been one of the worst doses of bad acting I've ever endured. Whoever cast her as the beautiful jet-set model was being terribly kind and foolish. Now, isn't that interesting that they've got Toyah on the front cover?
Yeah.
And they've chosen to publish that letter.
Because it goes on to have a little pop at Kim Wilde as well. And the letter ends, "I don't think much of today's women pop stars."
Unbelievable. So why does she use her dad's name Wilde when her real name is Kim Smith? Ooh. Again, a lot to unpack.
Yeah, you get the feeling that Penelope wasn't really Penelope.
You really do. You really do.
My favourite letters are both to do with Mark Almond on the next page. One says, "Who the hell wants to know, apart from the person who asked the question, that Mark Almond stripped on stage and covered his body with cat food? If this is what the odd little chap gets up to, that's his affair. But by printing it, you provide us with totally repulsive, unconstructive and, above all, useless information. Surely crude antics can be of no interest to anyone." Francis Wood from West Norwood. Very kind of prudish moral high ground being taken in some of the letters in this issue. And my favourite letter is the one just underneath, a little picture of Mark Ullman and Simon Le Bon. It says, "It's by Simon Le Bon's Big Toenail from Blackpool. Dear Mark Almond, who the hell do you think you are? God? Well, you're not.
Oof.
What gives you the right to go around saying you're gay in Simon Le Bon's name?
No.
It's obvious you're jealous of Simon Le Bon's natural good looks, whereas you have to hide your ugly mug behind layers of eyeliner and mascara, and his gorgeous voice, and the fact that he's got a steady girlfriend and you haven't. I suggest you stay away from Blackpool, because if I see you, I'll show you the quick way down Blackpool Tower, brackets, head first. I'll agree with one thing you said, though. You are a pain in the neck." Oh, it's quite a bit triolic,
Isn't it nasty?
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And again, how times have changed, how attitudes have changed. The anti-gay vibe in that as well. It's just, whoa.
There's a definite whiff of homophobia there in that letter.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I don't remember having that perception at all of smash hits at the time. It never registered. I mean, I was clearly very young, but that was the dominant ideology of the time, wasn't it? And that was okay. That was just how people were.
Yeah.
But now, looking back at it, whoa, blimey.
Yeah, it was just in tune with the cultural values, wasn't it? And like you say, it wouldn't have stuck out as being unusual or strange. You wouldn't have thought anything about it. But with hindsight, there's a lot of bells ringing. So what's it been like revisiting this issue again?
Oh, incredible. Incredible. I'm just so struck by how different it seems now to how I perceived it at the time. I've changed, the times have changed, attitudes to music have changed, the kind of the political and social norms of the day have massively shifted. I find it really quite interesting to kind of look at that little pocket of time from this perspective now and just realise how different life was. I mean, even the adverts, cassettes and Woolworths and stuff like that, we just, it doesn't happen now, does it?
No. It's like a little thing that's kind of frozen in, preserved in aspic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's preserved in amber, and you can just go back and revisit it at any time. But how you perceive it and the things that it makes you think about will vary depending on your age and what's happening in culture at the time and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's endlessly fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
But I love this issue because I think there's just so much absolutely bloody great music in it. Really is. So just great tunes and great pop stars. And the fact that, they had a band like the Higsons in there that were very much an indie band, but they still kind of had a little piece on them. So it just opened up people's worlds to other possibilities as well.
Totally.
And,
and I think it really tells a story of British music at that time in history, just how eclectic it was, how diverse it was. The music might have been diverse, but how socially diverse was it? I really wonder.
Yeah, generally, look back on Smash Hits as a positive thing, and I think this is a largely positive issue, as it always was. But there are, I think the Toyah piece and just some of the attitudes that come through, certainly on the letters page as well.
Definitely.
It kind of, seeing it in a slightly different light, looking at this issue.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to say, no, it's nice, really. Smash Hits was good, and Smash Hits was a force for good, and Smash Hits...
It was a huge force for good.
And it changed with the times, and I think slightly ahead of the times as the 80s wore on. And I think that was as their staff diversified, as they got more female writers.
Yeah. Totally.
When you get to like Sylvia Patterson and Miranda Sawyer and Sean Pattenden, when you get those people writing for the mag, that's when it changes and it becomes, there's an inclusivity that is, I think that is there to an extent, but that grows with the magazine as the 80s goes on. But at this point, I think there is just a little bit of that enemy, melody maker, sneering men thing going on.
Quite blokey, isn't it, at this point?
It is. And I think it's very easy for us to identify that now. At 40 years remove in the times that we live in now and what we've gone through in the last few years, and how our perceptions and beliefs and values and attitudes are changing. So it's been really interesting looking back at this issue with our 2022 vantage point.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, lads?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
So they put a woman on the cover, didn't they? So... But, above all else, great music.
Yeah, brilliant
in
music.
this issue, and and that's great. So thank you, Emma, very much for choosing this issue and for coming and riding on the carousel with us. Oh,
it's been a hoot. Raphael's been very comfortable.
And thank you to you for listening, dear listeners. Don't forget to check out our website, giddypoppod.home.blog, where you'll find the links to the issue of Smash Hits that we've been looking at, along with those Spotify and YouTube playlists, which will enable you to have a 3D pop experience as you ride on this, the giddiest of all known carousels. And of course, you can check out our previous episodes, playlists and scans, our back issues, if you will, while you're there.
And if you want to support us, leave a review or rating on your podcast app, or if you're feeling flush, buy us a coffee. ko-fi.com/giddypoppod, none of this / business when I'm talking about it, is where you can go to do that. And come and say hello to us at GiddyPopPod on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and we'll say hello back.
So thanks once again, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Giddy Carousel of Pop. Bye!
Bye!
Bye, everyone! Bye! No, you put the phone down. You put the phone down.